Welcome to this week's Ride webinar presented by CodeBuddy. So this week, JB and I are going to be having some fun building some apps. JB, what do you got in store for us?
I'm really bad at managing my time, so I decided to create a time management app.
Heck yeah. All right. You want to share up and kind of show us what you got
Yeah,
and the process you did to get it all created?
this is CodeBuddy Ride. If you have not been to other webinars, this is what it looks like when you are inside of a project. Just a little overview. This is what it looks like outside of a project. So if you have other projects, you can just click on Go to Project. And then, so we can start planning what our tool is going to do, or what we want our app to start functioning and looking like. We would just click on plan another change, and this is what it looks like. On the left side, we have a chat area. We can chat with our lovely ride here. And then on the right, you'll see like your workflows, your user types, and definitions that will be generated as you start to talk to the AI and start planning out features.
Yep. Can you explain
Um,
to me what a workflow is?
yeah, so a workflow is basically like a set of features or just these structured blocks of work that you want to execute or build upon. So just think about like Lego blocks, and that's what a workflow really is.
Cool. And then what is inside a workflow? If you can kind of show
Yeah.
that off a little bit too.
Sure. Yeah. So inside of the workflow, I got three here: weekly planning workflow, daily workflow, weekly reflection workflow. And this is what the conversation that I had with the AI started generating for me. So this first one here, if we click these little arrows here, we'll expand it. And we came to this agreement of enables a user to plan their upcoming week by reviewing, adjusting, and creating time blocks for personal, family, work activities. So it gives you a little description. And then it auto generates user stories along with their acceptance criteria. For those that have used like Ride before or have seen other Ride webinars in the past, this is actually a fairly new feature. So really, really excited to have this. I think this like just gets you going and running quicker as you're building your application and bringing it to life.
Yeah, fantastic. And you mentioned you had a conversation with the Ride AI. I'd love to just show a little bit of that off because it's by far my favorite part. I always tell people it's like you're just sitting beside with one of your friends who happens to be an expert developer who happens to know everything about everything. So, yeah, I'd love to have you show that off and maybe show kind of the process that you did to come up with these workflows.
Yeah, so I wish I could see the history of the conversation. You guys would be like, wow, he's actually having a full-blown conversation here. But we can do something like, let's say, maybe I think this workflow, this weekly reflection workflow is just way too big. It's a really, I want to split it into another block, right?
Hmm.
So I can say, I want to split, if I could type correctly. Sometimes typing and thinking out loud is not, doesn't work for me.
Hmm.
Okay. So I want to split weekly reflection workflow into two workflows for ease of implementation. I'll like start talking back to me, not in a nice way, not mouthy like my kids. But that makes sense. Dividing the weekly reflection workflow into separate, smaller workflows can make it easier. So it starts to like give you these responses that makes you think whether you
Hmm.
should, what should you do, like, and you start to really like brainstorm and plan out the application in a way that's viable, right? Because the
Hmm.
purpose of Ride is to get you to that state of MVP. You're creating momentum for your ideation to come to life, but you really want it to be used and validated as quickly as possible. So I think like this natural language that we're using, which is English, to be able to build apps is incredible in this day and age. And just getting those types of responses even triggers more creativity.
Yep.
Um,
And what I love too is it's unlike some other platforms that do quote unquote vibe coding, where you just ask it one thing and it just goes out and does it. We've really designed Ride to be an experience that's opposite of that. So it asks you a lot of questions. It really does probe you, like you said, so
mhm.
you can get that a high resolution view of your idea out into an actionable plan. And it just make sure it's like, okay, yeah, do we have everything you actually want? Is this how you want it? just like if you had a real developer or a real friend who's building this with you who has to actually go out and build it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to respond back to a ride. And just based off of this weekly reflection workflow, basically the essence when I was originally having a conversation, I wanted at the end of the week, after I have seen all the blocks of time that I've either completed or not completed, I wanted to just sit down and meditate and reflect on how good of a steward was I with my time, or how bad of a steward was I with my time? Like, where can I improve? I'm really big on my faith in Jesus Christ. So like I said, okay, well, give me a Bible verse, right? After I've submitted my reflection, give me a Bible verse that keeps me encouraged, right? So that way I'm not discouraged. So that way I start creating positive habits. So I think like because a Bible verse will require, I'm already thinking, oh, it's going to require me to go look for an API, get an API implemented into this. I'm going to ask it right now to just take that out and make it into its own workflow. So that way it's just easy for me to like just leave a reflection, type and post it. And that's as easy as it gets for this weekly reflection. So let's go ahead and do that. I want to make the Bible verse a user story its own workflow due to the nature of needing to talk to an external resource for Bible citations.
Yeah, and you don't want to have your workflows be too big, right? You want to
Yes,
have them
correct.
kind of be little bite sizes. Just like if you're eating a meal, you don't want to stuff your mouth full and it makes it difficult. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're actually wanting to code this with the AI or yourself or with like a human expert that you bring in, you want to make these little workflows manageable so you can again get the right result for what you want and not just try to do everything at one time and potentially do it somewhat poorly because you didn't think it out all the way through.
Right, exactly. I like here, like this response is pretty cool. Like, oh, that's a helpful distinction. That's pretty polite. And in understanding, you're right. You like to, one workflow. So then it starts to ask you some try to point out some clarification to make sure that this is how we want it to function. And then it'll ask you another question. How do you imagine users interacting with the Bible verse feature only once a week or whenever they need spiritual? So I would say like once a week. Keep it simple sometimes, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and again, I love all these questions. Like before I create these, like let me
Yeah.
validate. Just because even when we've done projects with a person with another person, you just assume certain things, and that's the problem. Is like they assume it's going to work one way, and the developer assumes it works another, and then it goes and gets built. And when they hand it back to the customer, they're just like, "Oh, that wasn't what I was thinking," and you just have all this confusion and rework. So that's again where like this planning portion of Ride is so powerful. It gets everyone who is doing the development, whether it's just yourself or a couple people, all on the same page. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So here, I basically got to a point where we're at a stage where it kind of like if when you're talking to a client or like a developer, a freelance developer is talking to you and trying to confirm, okay, these are the things that we talked about. Here are the changes, or here are the user stories that are in set. Do you agree, right? Moving forward. So this is kind of like what this modal is a workflow change. So we're basically breaking it down here, and we can see that the user story for the Bible verse is no longer there. So we're going to accept that change. And then now it created a weekly encouragement workflow. So this is the one that's going to be the one that we would start to implement when it comes to the Bible verse on the application. And boom, voila. I got weekly reflection workflow and the weekly encouragement workflow.
Yeah.
This is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's
I'm
so
so
powerful.
stoked.
Yeah, and at any point, if you wanted to kind of change a little bit of it, all you have to do is ask. So you're like, actually, I want to add acceptance criteria to this user story. I want to remove this one. All of those things are just a chat away. again, it's one of those things where you don't have to kind of come up with everything up front, or you don't have to change them right away. It's whenever in the process you want to do that, that's when you can kind of do it very naturally and organically.
Yes. All right. Well, let's look at some implementation. How shall we?
Yep. So let's how do you actually build this thing? That's the
Okay.
great great part.
Yeah, so we'll go with the simpler one. So we'll go with a weekly planning workflow. You'll see two buttons here. You see mark done, you'll see implement. Mark done just means like you've already done implementing this, and then so you mark it done, and it just obviously
Keep
does
checked it off
not.
your list.
Yeah,
Yep.
you just check that off your list. Yeah, nothing special there. Um, just before I do that, I did specify like the user types. So when you're starting to have that initial conversation with Ride is going to ask you, what kind of users? Is it going to be like an admin? Is it just going to be like, for in my case, it asked me if it was going to be uh, like another user, like maybe like a coach or a family member that would sign in and hold me accountable to my time blocks, or is it just going to be a single user? So I said it's just a single user for now. So I created a user type, and then you that pop up that you saw, that modal with the workflow change, you'll get a similar one that is just for user types, and then the same thing for definitions, because I did specify, I want to use this time management tool for like blocking like personal time. That could be self-care. That could be my devotional time with the Lord in the morning, go exert running or taking a walk in the morning, getting ready for work, family time, and then work time. So it created these definitions based off of a pattern that it hears on your responses. So that's how you get to this here.
Yep. And what I love too is like if you are having multiple people work on a project, you have these sources of truth. So everyone actually understands when you're using terminology, truly what that means. Because there is sometimes where if you just say work, someone might think that that's a little bit different or what does is under personal versus family. So again, as your team expands or as you start building with more people, everyone is working on the same page. Everyone's in that boat rowing together, which is super, super
Yeah.
powerful.
Yes. All right. Let's implement this. And as you can see, it's going to say, I want to work on implementing this workflow. So it basically takes your acceptance criteria, it takes your user stories within that as well. So that workflow that we just created, excuse me, it's part of the system context. And what that means is that workflow, since it's in a an object, let's say like it's like if you put I don't know. You it's your source of truth, right?
Hmm.
The simplest thing I could think of is like it's your source of truth, and that source of truth is your North Star. So and you keep adding on to it, and you keep adding on to it. So then Ride starts to build your application. So one question that I thought of myself before I joined the CodeBuddy team was like, how does it know that a part of the application was already built? Because the system context already has that and already living there. So it's like a living, breathing organism, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
So when you start to talk to the chat here on the right side, you'll see it'll respond to you of like just key features is going to implement a condensed view of the acceptance criteria. It's going to ask you for some clarification. Then it's going to go into more technical things like the back end and the front end because Ride does both. It builds your back end and it also builds your front end. So then it'll ask you to confirm and you can start to just give it feedback and whatnot. But just like any good Food Network show, we have something to show. So
Yep.
we just hit that run project. If it is your first time, I suggest hitting that install dependencies button first and then hitting the run project. You'll see the backend will start to run. And then you'll see that the front end is starting to spin up. I did implement this. So I'm just going to show you what that result looks like.
Hmm. Another part of this too we want to touch on is you already see a lot of code in there before you do these pieces. All of our projects are started with our starter kit, which is our like baseline foundation for every application that the AI is trained on with really good methodologies, standards, architectures. So you're not starting from zero every time you start a project. You actually have a really, really good starting point to kick off from, and then mold and shape, like you were just saying, it's a living organism that you can craft into exactly what you need. So again, another way of how with Ride, you could build much, much better software much, much faster.
Yes, yes. And if anyone's curious, the tech stack would be React. It uses Material UI for or MUI, as some people know it, for the components. It's a very popular React library and very flexible. And then it uses C# for the backend technology, along with Supabase for your data and your authentication. So. I'm gonna just pull over this to the main screen here and brace yourselves, bright screen.
Yeah.
Um, but this is a part of the starter kit. So when it boots up the front end on your local host, you'll see the CodeBuddy logo, and then you'll see the just the fields to be able to log in. So I'm gonna go ahead and log in and type in my password if I can remember it. And then I just logged in. And then originally you'll see like a welcome view. It'll say like a CodeBuddy starter kit. But prior to starting the webinar, I told it, hey, when I log in, and that's what I use the chat for. So in the chat that you see there in the code editor, I say I want to turn my weekly plan page as the main page that I go to after I logged in. And it did that change for me. I had to make a couple adjustments, and then voila. Now I can see my weekly plan list. So this is the application. This is the feature for that particular workflow implemented. I did not do any of this. It's all just like me having a conversation with Ride and then prompting it on some niceties and clarity that I would like to have. But this is not set in stone. I can continue building on this if I want to, right? So for example, let's just go ahead and let's just do like work, right? And then what's today's date? The first. Let's look for like 3:21 p.m. I can confirm that. All right. I guess they didn't like it. All right, 4 p.m. So does that sound cool? Does that sound cool? 4 p.m. Okay, well, it seems like that's broken, guys. All right, we'll just go with what it has, right? So, we'll say late night fun at work, and then we'll add it. Okay. Then this personal one, we'll just try to choose a different date. I chose the third. You see, I chose the second. Now it's choosing the third. That's all
Yeah.
right.
So you got some debugging to do here a
I
little
have
bit.
some debugging to do.
Yeah.
Nothing's perfect, right?
But again, that's
So,
just a continued conversation. Now that you're testing it, I mean, I know
yes.
right before we even hit record here, you made this uh first little batch here, and so it's just really it is
Yeah.
try it, use it, refine it. And like you're saying too, like maybe you want the UI to look a little bit different. You want things to flow a little bit differently. All of those things you can specify to the AI and keep working with and refining, and it makes it for you. Again, it's not about like being perfect off of one prompt. It's about really like going through and trying to go through the process alongside it to get a high quality item that is exactly what you need.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And again, software is iterative. So no software is perfect. Just like no website is perfect. You put something out there and then you start building upon feedback and testing
Hmm.
as you go along. And so like you see, we have some bugs here, but hey, we're gonna make the best of it. So I added a work and I added a family block, and then I can also remove it as well. So that's really nice. That functionality is already there. And then we'll just add this one. I'll just say like go on a run, and then we'll add another one for family, and then just eat popcorn, watch movies. All right. Um, And then now, one of the things like when I was having a conversation with Bride was like, I want to approve my week. So what I want to get better at is planning my week. So that would start on a Sunday, so that Monday all the way through Saturday, I have my week planned out. Um, and then so like once I feel like, oh, these are good, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna approve my week. Now I don't have I haven't implemented a workflow of what does the approved week do, right? So and that's the beauty of it. Like we just all we wanted to do was implement the list view of these particular time blocks, like start and end time, the description, the add and remove, being able to specify whether it's personal, family, and work. So we're not over what is it? Was it over engineering off of one workflow? Like that's why we have those chunks of blocks because we want to have separation of concern so that way it's easy to implement and iterate over each of those features.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so let's do something really small here, right? Let's go back to ride. And let's say I want to switch that remove button into a trash can icon, right? So let's say like, in the chat here, I'm gonna say change remove button text into a trash icon instead. Okay, so I understood. Before proceeding, could you confirm where this button appears um, at the end of a time block after clicking the add button?
Yep. So now it'll actually go through your files and look for those
Mm-hmm.
pieces to make sure it's doing the right thing and hunting the right thing. I do love that it asked you because
Yes.
you could have had those in a few spots within your app. And I've done this on like websites before where you make one change somewhere and then it completely ruins another area.
Yes. Yes. Cool. So here we have the suggested changes, and it also tells you what file is going to be updated. Kind of left side is like what it's being, the state that it used to be in, and then what's going to be adjusted. And then on the right side is your final result. You can actually click in here. And you can edit the code if you like, if you're technically inclined. Maybe you thought of something else, right? Maybe here you wanted to make another tweak, an adjustment. You can chat with Ride in here and adjust this suggestion and then accept your changes. But
Yep. And what I
um,
love about this too is compared to some other options, I brought up vibe coding before, and one of the
yes,
best definitions was like you're just building software without looking at the code. We wanted to take that opposite approach where you're always in the driver's seat. You're always getting as much transparency as possible in what's happening and
mm-hmm,
what's going on. So even, if you're less technically inclined, you can still learn as you're going through, like, hey, this is actually the changes it's going to make. Why did it make it that way? You can actually ask it that and it'll tell you, which is really great. Or if you're a more seasoned developer and you hack, I prefer doing it this way. Again, you
yeah,
can make those changes in line yourself. You can ask it to change in those ways. You're in full control the whole time.
correct, correct, yeah. And then like here is like the other area, so it implemented that icon. So we're gonna accept our changes here, and that should have a change immediately.
Yep. So you just need
All
to
right.
refresh. And this is what it's great about working locally as well. It happens pretty dynamically.
Yeah. I have to take my kid to Taekwondo today, so.
Heck yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we got that trash icon. Cool. And then so I can go ahead, I can click it, and there you go. Functionality still works. All we did was just change something in the UI. So,
Yep. And you didn't have to write one word of code.
nope. I just had to say it in English, and it did it for me.
Yeah. And actually, you don't even have to say it in English. It is multilingual, which is quite fun too.
Cool. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, it
I'm a
will. Yeah, you can
Spanish
talk to it
speaker,
in
so
Spanish and it'll still code in English, which is the standard. But we
yeah.
found that you have that functionality, which is great for especially, yeah, if you're working with teams from different areas.
Yeah, let's do something real quick. Let's try that out. Here live in color. I will switch it over. Okay. Change trash icon to I'm gonna ask it to change trash icon to blue in Spanish, okay?
Sounds perfect.
So, oh, can we do it in Spanglish? We will
Try.
see. This would be cool if it did. It's Spanglish. I would be completely sold. It's probably
Yeah.
thinking really hard. All
There you
right,
go.
let's
Yeah.
see. Okay. All right. Oh, that looks like blue to me. So we accept the change. And you see, it didn't even ask me where to go, right? What file to go because it already has the context of where
Yep.
I've been and where the change was. And then it says a trash delete icon within each block is now displayed in blue, which is the primary blue for Material UI. As requested, the icon remains at the end of each time block and retains functionality. Great. Thanks, Ride, for telling me more than I needed. But hey, that's the whole point, right? Like that's the beauty of that. You get to understand what's being done instead of like in a vibe coding environment, you're left wondering what just happened and
Hmm.
what's it doing, you know? So okay. Webinar.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
there are
webinar is
there are
similar.
situations where maybe you do just want to one prompt build something, but again, we're trying to build professional class software with Ride, and when there's actual stakes in the line, it's good to fully understand, the underlying foundation of what you're trying to
Hmm.
build a business off of. And we just see that so many times. I know like this is a personal app that you're building here, but
Yeah.
even with that, you still want to trust it because if you start really getting into it and using it and then it's just
Yeah.
built on a house of cards that keeps crashing on you, then you're just wasting your time.
Yeah. Well, there goes. It has been changed to blue, all from just a prompt in Spanglish. All
So perfect.
right.
So now let's say that you're ready. All right, how are we going to test this? How are we going to get this on the cloud?
Yeah, so really good question. So let's say if we're happy with everything that we've done, all the changes that we've made, you'll click on review changes up here. You'll see a number says 17 changes. And these are just all the files from the back end to the front end files that were made. There is this thing that we call in the software world called committing. Basically, it's like saving your changes, right, to your document. So I'm just going to say initial build of time management app. And then it'll go ahead and save those changes for me. Awesome. And then so once we do that, we see here completed changes, a little log of that. I can either go back and plan other changes, so we'll be in that workflow mode here, this planning mode, and or we can go back to that code editor view that we just came from, and then we can see here that we can view like a test or a live environment as well.
Perfect. So, yeah, we like to follow the best software development lifecycle practices. Again, something that isn't in all those tools. So, like you said, get logging all your commits, getting it all the proper documentation and all those things going within it is hugely important when you're actually building a production quality app and going in and also when you're going to be working collaboratively with teammates, which is really important too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't have to do it on this part just because I know it takes a few minutes. But yeah, if you did want to publish it up to the cloud, you just give your changes a name. Then you can
Hmm.
push it to test environment, which it'll automatically go to those Azure resources, which got connected at the start of the project. And then once you're ready, validated that all those are going with your tests, you're ready to go. You can push things to your live environment as well, which is really great. So it's just a matter of a click or two and a little bit of text to get things going on stuff that used to take oh gosh, JB, how many hours to make sure you were doing it all correctly?
A lot of hours,
Yeah.
sometimes a simple feature could take up to more than a week. Um, in a software world, we do sprints approximately between, depending on the team. I was at a place where we were doing like 3 week sprints, but usually it's like a 2 week sprint. And then if it's a small shop, then you have to do the testing yourself as well. So that it takes time. So it's just really awesome to be able to just build these features in literally in a matter of minutes, and then you probably even start testing like this first phase of your application within a couple days. So it's like you have seen it here, guys. Like it's not just like, oh, like it's gonna take me like a full 2 weeks to build it out. Like, take your time, think it through. And that's what I really love about Ride. I think a lot and I over engineer my thoughts. So I like that Ride just encourages me to really sit down, think about what I want to build and how do I should break it down. So
Yeah. The other thing that we're unique about is we're the only development platform that does the combination of AI tools like you see here, but we're also combining that with human expertise. So part of the process is you get to meet a human code buddy to do your onboarding and get you set up. And then you can use code buddies for coaching, which is great. So you can have someone to kind of help guide you along, make sure that you're not in this journey together. Our mantra is never code alone, which is great, whether that's an AI or a human. And then also there's the ability to kind of augment your speed by outsourcing certain workflows to developers to help build those for you as well. So if you are a founder and you striking gold while that while it's there, you're able to then really kind of build up a team very, very quickly for when you need. And that adds a lot of power and a lot of velocity. I like to say that we offer supported momentum, which is really great. I'll take this screen here while that's loading too, if
yeah,
you
go ahead.
share, and I'll just steal this one. Just to talk about the cost as well, a little bit where there we are. Um, you can get Ride itself for as cheap as $100 a month, which is awesome. So that includes the application that you just saw. You do get that white glove onboarding with JB or another one of our code buddies to kind of get you rolling, and get you up going. But one of the powers, like we're talking about, is you can get a lot more access to people. So we offer like our boot camp, which gets you a weekly one-on-one call. So you get like 10 hours for your first month of actual like coaching pair programming sessions to kind of get things rolling and get things going. We're building a lot of community features in as well to kind of help you get like testers for going and stuff. So again, you're not in this journey by yourself. And I love saying also we're actually a depreciating price plan where it gets cheaper and cheaper as you go through the process because maybe at the beginning with the boot camp you do need more hand holding, and then later on as you go you maybe only need meet once a month or so, so your costs are going to go down. And at any point you can also just schedule kind of an a la carte meeting to like, hey, I need extra help this week. I got a deadline to go. I'm lost. I don't know why this broke. What's happening to us? And you can kind of just get support that whole way, which again, you really can't get with any of these other platforms. And where I feel like we're trying to build a unique value proposition for everybody is it's like you don't have to code alone. If you're unsure, you can have a code buddy build with you and you can build something really cool, really great very quickly. So we are going just as of today, actually, into our full wide release. So you can subscribe directly from our website now. You don't have to book a call and go through the selection process like you did before. You can just sign up directly. It'll send you right to your checkout so you can get your subscription set up. And from there, it'll go to the booking calendar so you can get onboarded and ready to rock and roll. So if you are interested, our most popular right now has been our essentials plan just to get kickstarted, validate your idea. But at any point, if you're like, yep, this is the tool for me, you can upgrade to the boot camp and really, really get some acceleration and support in building.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. All right. We have just published the tests. Right. You should be able to see that.
Yep. So now that little icon on the top right is all
Yeah, now it's
active.
lit up. Right. So it's lit up and it's here as well. So basically what we'll do is we can either click here or click on view tests. and then you get a, domain or some type of like proprietary like what is it, temporary domain, where your application lives. If you know about like Netlify or like Vercel, those are like app hosting services for like React developers and other frameworks. They do very similar. So like, you upload your files and then they just shoot you an application on a domain that doesn't have like an actual domain that you've purchased. But yeah, this is a test environment here. And so I can go ahead and I can log in.
Yep. And of course, at any point, you can connect those to your own domain. So you could be test at yourapp.com or whatever you have. So you can get all those set up within your Azure environments as well.
Yep. And then here you go. This is the application. So after I log in, as I mentioned earlier, I wanted it to always go to my weekly planner. So then it'll go ahead and it'll start to load anything that I may have within the application. But yeah, in essence, that's basically what the publish to test is, and I'll do the same thing with live as well.
Perfect. All right. JB, any other points that we need to hit on this webinar?
No, I think that's pretty much it. There is a lot more that we could cover in a webinar, but you guys would probably be here for a very long time along with us. Um, but we definitely encourage you to come by every week, and we're hoping to show you guys just different aspects of Ride, of what you can do with it, and yeah, just join us. Let's continue working on this time management app. And if you do get the chance of onboarding and stuff, then I'll be there with you and guiding you all the way through, and just helping you out, kind of understand the system, and enjoy it, and get a bang for your buck.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, for all the information, all the details on how to sign up, just go to www.codebuddy.com. We post new stuff on there. We also have very lively social medias and all sorts of places. So, yep, give us a follow, check it out, sign up, try it out for yourself. It is awesome on what you can come up with and build. So, with that, we will see everybody next week. Bye bye.